Hey guys, this is Echo Soundworks, and you are checking out a mixing tip and trick tutorial video on ADSR. So in this video, we'll be looking at a concept called pre-fader mixing and how it can benefit your mixes and ultimately allow you to get cleaner and louder productions. So you can do this in every DAW. I'm almost 100% positive on that. Every major DAW should allow you to to have pre-fader and post-fader monitoring options, right? Now, I'll be doing this tutorial in Logic X, so if you guys use another DAW, if you don't know how to get the pre-fader turned on, just do a quick Google search. It's probably quite easy to do. In Logic, all you have to do is hit this button up here. If you don't have that button, you just right-click and add it to your menu by hitting Customize Control Bars Display, selecting pre-fader metering, and hitting OK. So now the reason this becomes important is because the fader that you guys see on an individual track, let's look at the bass real quick, is usually post-fader. And that's looking at, if it's a synth, like in this example, we have Massive, FabFilter Pro Q2, LFO Tool, Compressor, and Isotope Ozone. It's controlling the volume, right? What you see on this volume readout is post-fader. It's also taking into consideration where your fader is and all this information in the actual track itself or the software instrument. So pre-fader looks at it before it hits this fader. Now, you can actually have clipping or digital distortion occurring at certain points. I got a question on a video that I did a while ago about louder mixes, and someone said that they were getting true peaking at like 0.8, almost 1 over unity, right? Almost a decibel over. And they weren't clipping anywhere, and they couldn't figure out. And I asked them, well, did you check pre-fader? And they said no. So that was the cause of that. So it can actually eat up some unwanted headroom and allow for some clipping to get through, even if you're not clipping. So let's look at that example in my mix. Hopefully I have some pre-fader clipping here. So if we turn off all my master processing, right, I'm peaking at -3.1. So not a huge, it's not super loud, but it's not really quiet either. Now if we turn on my mastering processing, which is just pretty basic, right? And we look at a multimeter to see where I'm at. Right, I'm true peaking at 0.5 left channel, 0.3 right channel. So I know something's happening where I have some sort of distortion going. So I might quickly just go through the tracks and see post-fader if I have clipping. I know I don't right now. So I'm assuming it's coming from some type of pre-fader issue. So remember that 0.5. We'll see if we can get that down in this video. So I'm going to turn on pre-fader monitoring, and we're going to look at some of these tracks. All right, so nothing there. I don't think I'll have anything on the drums. I was pretty careful about the drums when I was mixing. Now, a lot of people, different engineers, different producers, they'll want their pre-fader to go up to a certain limit. I've heard anywhere from -12 to -4. -4 is on the hotter side, so I'm kind of anywhere from -4 to -8 usually. So this is pretty hot. So I'm on pre-fader. I'm going to turn this down pre-fader to -8.8. Let's go back to post-fader, and you'll notice that, right, it just says -8.8. So let's go back to pre-fader. See, it didn't change the volume, right? So depending on how your DAW sets up, you want to make sure that you're actually affecting the gain before the fader. So in Logic, I'm going to go to my gain in the region, and I'm going to turn it down. See, now it's at -2.2. And if we go back to post-fader, this is still -4.8, right? So turn that down a little bit. Now that gives me some more headroom, some more wiggle room. The hi-hats I know won't be clipping. So let's go into the lead, because I think one of the leads is clipping because it was really hot in Serum. So I'm going to turn on pre-fader, and I think it's this lead right here. All right, so it's clipping 2.7, positive 2.7 decibels, right? So let's see where the culprits are. Obviously, going to your first link in the chain, in this example would be Serum, would be easiest. We could just turn it down. But I also want to investigate and see if I'm, adding anything with this EQ. I'm not. Also, compressors are another common source of having some clipping occurring before your pre-fader. You might think, okay, in this example, let's turn everything off except Serum. So let's say Serum wasn't clipping. Pre-fader, right? But it's close to clipping. Then let's say we add the compressors back on, and now it is. So if you're using a lot of software instruments, probably in order of the most common culprit of this would be first, the output from the synth might be too hot, turn it down. Second would be if you're adding, you're adding some high end to an EQ, that sort of thing, could be causing clipping. Turn the output in the channel EQ or the EQ that you're using. So if you're using like FabFilter Pro Q2, and let's say you're boosting some frequencies like that, you might just want to turn down the output to kind of compensate, right? Now, third is going to be compression. And we have that occurring in this example. So I'm going to open up both of the compressors here, and I'm just going to turn the output down about negative 1.5 on the first one. And actually, let's go a little lower. Let's do negative 2.5 on each of these. And these are just my sidechain compressors, so I don't need a lot of gain coming out of them, obviously. And let's turn the master down in Serum. All right, so now I'm at that negative 4.8, which is on the hotter side of pre-fader metering for me when I mix, but let's check it out now in the mix and see if we need to adjust post-fader. So I just turned up my post-fader, and let's make sure that the pre-fader, I just want you guys to see this, it was peaking at about negative 4.7, remains the same. Right, negative 4.4, so it's the same thing, right? But my post-fader, I can crank that up, and the value will remain the same, but I'll still hear, the volume increase. So mix this back now. All right, let's make sure none of the chords are pre-fader clipping. All right, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So it might have just been the one instrument there with that drum, that snare that was pretty hot. So let's look at our multimeter and see if we have lowered the true peak. All right, so we're at positive 0.2 rather on both the left and right, so they were more even, but we also lowered it. It was 0.5 before. Now, we could go through and probably tighten it up a little bit more, but I don't want to bog down the length of this tutorial. You get the idea. Pre-fader monitoring is pretty important when you take into consideration that a lot of modern production techniques use layering, they use compression, EQ, saturation, that sort of stuff. You could be getting clipping occurring somewhere in that signal flow, but never know it. So definitely check this out in your DAW because it will help your mixes for sure. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm Echo Soundworks. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.